Welcome to the Open Country Craftsman channel. Thanks for joining me for this project where I'll be installing a new Black Talon tractor seat. I bought this old Belarus 920 tractor a few years ago, got a good deal on it, but as you can see, the seat is much to be desired. In my defense, it came like that. I didn't cause that damage. But the first step in this process, of course, is to remove the old seat. And this seat had its own spring system. It was very heavy and tore up from weather and wear and mice and different things. I'm removing the boot that covers the bolts, and pretty much I'm trying to get an idea of how not only how am I going to remove this seat, but also how I'm going to install the new seat, because the holes don't exactly line up to just place the new universal tractor seat straight in and just bolt it in. It's not that easy. So my goal is to first get the seat out from the bottom bracket so that I can at least take a look at it and see if anything is still usable. It was very awkward and heavy, and my main goal was to get it out with not breaking any glass or doing any more damage to the tractor itself. But a little elbow grease, I got it out and got it in the workshop. The bottom bracket, which I know will bolt to the floor because I just unbolted it. The seat part was held by 4 bolts. I figured that I could reuse this to mount my new seat. I'm not sure if there's a standard bolt pattern for a universal tractor seat for John Deere tractors or not. But in my case, I'm going to have to fabricate a way to attach the seat to this bracket. And I think the good thing about it is it'll put it at the right height, because it's not very tall on its own, the seat, but that bracket will bring it up to a height that I need in order to drive the tractor comfortably. This was a Black Talon seat unboxing here. It was from TSC, or Tractor Supply Company, for 99 bucks. It wasn't too expensive. I liked it because it has a spring mechanism in it, because there is, no suspension in a tractor, and if you hit a big bump, you want a little bit of give in your seat. And it came in several different colors, yellow and red and black, and I chose black since I don't know what the original seat color was, because obviously it looked like foam, but I thought black would complement the rest of the tractor just fine. And that's it. 3 parts. I wanted to test fit the parts and just kind of get an idea of what the seat's going to look like and kind of the dimension of it, the size of it, and it looks pretty sharp. For 99 bucks, can't complain. There's the bracket. I'm kind of test fitting how the main part of the chair would go on and how I'm going to attach it. The bolts didn't line up, so first step is to clean this up, because it had all kinds of stuff on it from hay and driving in the field, dirt and whatnot, just regular grime that has caked on there. And I don't think I'd get a very good weld without cleaning it up. Plus, I want to, when I'm finished fabricating my bracket, I want to paint it. So got to get it clean enough to do that. So my trusty friend, the wire brush, takes off the big stuff. And because of the small corners there, I couldn't really get that with the angle grinder. Had to use some elbow grease and a smaller toothbrush style wire brush. Now, since my plan is to weld to these two bars that go across here, I'm just prepping the surface for a good clean weld, and like I said, I'm going to plan on painting it later, and that'll all be covered up. So I didn't take a lot of time. I just ran 120 grit flap disc over it. The overall dimension was 13 inches for the bottom plate. The bottom and top width was 3.5 inches, center to center on the holes, and then 10 inches top to bottom. So I cut a piece of 2-inch steel by 1/8 inch. I cut that 13 inches long, so it's the length of the chair bottom. So I plan on cutting 2 of those bars and then running them along where the hole pattern will be. So the bars will be welded perpendicular to the bracket bars that are already on there, and that should work. So I'm cutting 2 13-inch pieces of this 2-inch bar that I had left over from a different project. Using the chop saw to, well, for one, it's easy, and it does a pretty straight cut. So just like I did to the surface of the bracket, I'm prepping these for a good contact so I can weld them, without any problem. Plus the chop saw leaves a little bit of a pokey mess on there that I gotta smooth out. Here's my kind of just eyeballing what it's gonna look like and get an idea. So I measured center, and then off the center I measured where the center of the bars would be from that, and then 2 inches from those 2 centers on the bars. So I know where to place the bars to line up with the holes. And I'm test fitting there, or just kind of eyeballing what it's going to look like. I'm getting ready to weld these down, so I wanted to clamp them to make sure nothing moved as I started my bead. Sometimes I stick the weld, or the rod sticks as I'm welding, and I'll move the piece, and just to avoid that, which I didn't have any problems, just to avoid that I clamped it down, and I ran a bead on each side of the bar on both bars, so all 4 beads in total. And I thought, that would probably be enough strength to hold this chair in place. But after I cleaned it up, and I was thinking maybe I should do the other side too, and I did end up doing that. In order for the chair to sit flat, I kind of had to grind a little bit of the weld down, because some of it, just in a couple spots, beat it up, or got a little lump up there that would have not let it sit completely flat. So like I said, in order to really give it its maximum strength, I figured I'd weld. I had it out. I got the welder set up. Why not just go ahead and weld the back to make sure that isn't going to come off, because you never know how much pressure you're going to be applying on that seat as you're turning or hitting bumps or whatnot, and I just figured it'll just last a little longer. So once I was done with that, I placed the seat on the brackets, made sure everything lined up. I was pretty happy with that, and made sure that from each piece of this, from the sides, that the chair was in the middle, and it was. I'm marking the holes now. There was 4 holes in the front and 4 holes in the back. I'm only going to use 2 in the front and 2 in the back, but I marked all 4 just to kind of see where they ended up, where they landed. So I opted in the front, to where I'm punching now, to put the holes where they would go directly through both bars, which I thought would give it the maximum strength and also add to the strength of the weld. In the back, I did the further holes at the back because the ones closer to the bar would have actually, the hole would have drilled and probably touched the bar on the original bracket, which would have made it awkward to put a bolt through. So I drilled the holes by hand because my drill press really isn't big enough to put a piece like that in there. And it wasn't too terribly difficult, but here's the moment of truth where I line up the holes and just see if the bolts will actually go in, and to my surprise and satisfaction, they did. So I'm calling it good, and I'm just pretty much just putting a coat of flat black on it because that's what I had laying around, and also just to keep the rust off it. So I'm not trying to match the seat bracket or anything. I'm just trying to get something to protect it from rust, and I did a couple coats there. So now I'm getting the actual seat mounted with the 4 original bolts that were holding the other seat to this same bracket. So pretty much the metal I use is about the same thickness. It's about 1/8 inch on the whole bracket, so I figured it would work, and it did. And I did add new washers, bigger washers that I thought would help hold it. So the seat is pretty much a keyhole style where you just slide the bolts in, move them into place, and tighten them down. The bolts were already in the seat itself, so it was relatively easy. I mean, super quick. If I did not have to fabricate the bottom of this bracket, it would have been really simple to install. The same with the backrest. It's 4 bolts in a keyhole style slot that you put the bolts through, slide down, and tighten. You have to go through this piece. Now originally I had messed with that adjustment which put the springs in the way, so those should be left at 0 so you can get your wrench in there to tighten the screws. This is the adjustment I was talking about, so you can adjust this to your weight so that the springs can react according to your weight. With the fabrication done, I'm carrying it to the tractor, which this finished seat, although it's still pretty heavy, wasn't as heavy as the one I pulled out of there, and it just has less parts, and I'm trying to get it in there. As you know, it's a lot easier because it's all in one piece and not flopping around like the old one that I took out. But since I am using the same bracket, I know that these holes will line up, and I'm using the same exact bolts, so there's no worry there. Everything lines up. The only concern was that backrest would mess with my PTO controls and the levers there that you can see to the right, and it did clear it. It's hard to tell from this overhead view, but the seat does clear it. The other thing that this seat offers is it can slide back, as I just did. It slides back and forth, so you can adjust it just like in the car. There's the finished product. Well, another project completed. I hope you enjoyed the journey with me. For more videos, subscribe to my channel or check out these links. Thanks for watching.